The Khan of Gods!
Okay, so this is the Nicebloom 66, an electro-capacitive keyboard that looks like a mechanical keyboard, and I promise you this is not a mechanical keyboard. It's closer to a membrane keyboard than anything. I mean, it's got rubber domes, but somehow they managed to make it look like it was a mechanical keyboard. I think the standout feature for this keyboard is going to be the typing experience. It's almost completely silent and it takes almost nothing to actually eat actuation when you're trying to type with this keyboard. And as far as the keycaps go, it's got regular size keycaps that you can basically chug on any aftermarket keycaps you want. The only thing is though, you would never really be able to change the spacebar because it's like a really weird size that Niz Plum says was done for ergonomics. I mean, it works, but just keep in mind that you're never going to be able to change that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the unboxing experience. Basically, when you open up the box, you get the keyboard itself. You're going to get a really nice wire keycap puller, which actually looks a little different than I'm used to. You're going to get a braided USB-C cable. This is USB-A to USB-C, and it's actually very high quality. I like that cable. Another thing that you're going to get is going to be extra keycaps, especially for Mac users, and you're going to get a 2U backspace key in case you want to disable your tilde key and use double backspaces, since this keyboard actually is primarily designed to have a 1U backspace, which was a little weird at first, but I got used to it. And I'm going to explain why. Aside the keycaps, you're going to get the set of O-rings, and you're going to get a manual which is entirely Chinese, so it's completely useless to you if you're like me and you speak English and no Chinese at all. But just before we get into talking about all my thoughts about this keyboard, let's do a quick type test so that I can show you what the keyboard actually sounds like when you're using it. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about all the features of this keyboard. My version is the non-Bluetooth, non-backlit version, so like the entry level version that you can buy for this keyboard, and mine has 66 keys. It's got arrow keys to the bottom right, and the right shift key actually also doubles as the up button. Actually, it's defaulted to being the up button except you switch the layers. Another rather weird yet interesting thing about this keyboard is that the backspace key is also 1U, and the other U that's supposed to be the rest of the backspace was used for the tilde key. Now, of course, in some videos that I have seen, you can actually disable the tilde key and use the regular size backspace keycap that was included. But the problem with this for me though was I couldn't find the software that I'm supposed to use with this keyboard to be able to disable the tilde key. And partly the problem with that is because the manual is in Chinese, the website is in Chinese, and even the guys who sent me this keyboard had no information about where to get this software. Worse still, I searched and I found what I thought was going to be the Windows version of this software, but it wasn't even for this particular keyboard, and there is no Mac version, but I'm a Mac OS user, so that was a bit weird, especially considering the fact that they gave me Mac keycaps, but there is no software for Mac. Like, what was the point of that exactly? Now, regardless of all that, I continued to use this keyboard for about a month, and I honestly can't say this was one of my best experiences with any keyboard in 2019. Look, the fact is, this keyboard looks really good, typing on it felt really good, and for whatever reason, I typed faster and more accurately when I was using the Niz Plum Atom66, as opposed to all my other keyboards, which I thought was a little weird. Now, moving on to the actual physical bits of the keyboard, on the back of the keyboard, you're basically going to get two extendable rubber feet, two adjustable heights that you can use to, arc this to be more ergonomic, and if you completely close them down, you're going to get 4 rubber feet that basically help you prevent the keyboard from moving around on your desk. But of course, you probably don't want to be using your keyboard in this manner anyway, so you don't damage your hands. Now, also on the back, the USB cable has a routing channel so that, you know, it doesn't completely just come off by accident, which I thought was really good, especially because it's USB-C. And I tried to actually physically assault this keyboard to check the build quality. I bent it a little bit, but it wouldn't budge. I mean, there is a little bit of flex, but it's not like many other keyboards that I've seen. So you can tell that there's a metal PCB inside of this. I like the fact that they recognize the fact that not every keyboard enthusiast is going to want a keyboard that doesn't have any actuation and feels very, very light when you press on the keys. So they included some rings for you to use to make it a little more resistant when you're typing. But honestly, personally, I actually quite enjoyed this. At no point while I was using this did I say, oh, okay, let me try out the rings because I don't like how this feels. I absolutely loved the way they felt from day one, from the box, and I didn't change anything. And one little subtle feature that I really appreciate that they did was they made the right shift key completely the up key, and they completely moved the shift to a function layer, which may not be nice for a lot of gamers because I know that this form factor is basically used for gaming mostly, but for me as a typist, somebody who doesn't game that much, this was an absolute godsend. I don't even use my right shift key at all, so this helped me a lot to actually naturalize with using this keyboard as my daily driver. Here's the bottom line. This keyboard is well built, it feels fantastic, it functions fantastic, it types excellent, and it looks really good. The only con that I see with the keyboard at the end of the day is that 1U backspace key. And I dislike the fact that they gave me the option to disable the tilde key so I can use my regular backspace keycap, and gave me the keycap as well, but for whatever reason they made it impossible for me to actually use this option. Regardless of all this though, my experience with this keyboard was a solid 9 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. And the quality of the keycaps is actually really nice too. I forgot to mention that. These are PBT keycaps, die-sub I believe, and they feel really nice to type on. So my entire time using this keyboard, I never had to complain about the keycaps once. So for me, this was almost the perfect keyboard for my personal use, except it's not a mechanical keyboard and there's the weird size for the spacebar which you can never change, and then there's the backspace that, yeah, I just wish they would give you a manual that's in English and they would give you software that you can actually use with macOS to disable that tilde key. It's really annoying. So a huge thanks to the guys at EPOM Maker for sending this keyboard out to me for review, but of course that did not affect my opinion of this review. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on another video that was shot by Kagan. Peace.
To make the first move, you and me in the night, two souls in the moonlight. I stare into your eyes, and you into mine, lying perfectly still, like we have frozen time. I don't want this to be over.